I want to know what the hell is going on.
3, 2, 1.
Perfect.
Oh, welcome to Screen Share and Chill. My name is Kelly.
My name is Keith. Try not to sound more enthusiastic than that, because I don't think we could take it with your awful grunt before introducing
Welcome
yourself.
to Screen Share and Chill.
You sound like...
And anyways, I'm Jamie.
Hi, Jamie.
Oh, hi, Jamie. How are you?
I'm not well. I'm not well, but I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah, 2/3 of our hosts are battling physical maladies coming up to the recording session today. Jamie's got a little bit of a post-sickness thing going on. Keith's got a bit of the allergies going on. And
You might call it
a
a melange.
A melange of maladies. Yes, that was a word that I used while we were setting up for recording. And after I said the word, I was like, wait a minute, is that a real word? So we had to look it up. And it is. Apparently, my brain knew a word that my brain did not recognize.
No, your brain knew the word that you didn't know. That's how that works.
Oh, sorry, I had it wrong. Yeah, my brain knew it, but my brain didn't know it.
I think it's that your brain knew it, but you didn't know that your brain knew it.
Ah,
Exactly.
yes. With further clarification, that way we all fully understand the words that were. God.
This is a movie podcast.
Yeah, so
clearly
2/3 of the hosts are sick, and the other third of the host is me. So we're off to a great start.
Mm-hmm.
Today we are reviewing The Mummy 3, otherwise known as The Mummy China, otherwise known as The Mummy Tomb of the Dragon Emperor.
China.
Oh,
The
please
Mummy
no.
China.
Oh, God.
Oh,
Let's say China. 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 I have to have my China.
I'm already sick. Don't make me sicker.
yes, I can't say the word China without hearing. And it's like I don't even hear the infamous politician that will not be named. I don't even hear his voice. I hear all the people imitating him over the last few years. So it's just gotten stuck in my head as this weird parody of it.
This time they took the mummy to China.
And did they pay a tariff on this?
Imhotep. They treated him very badly. They took the production to China.
He was a wonderful dictator. He knew exactly what he was doing with these people.
Terrible.
Okay, we're not bringing that voice into the podcast
Thank
lexicon.
God.
That is not.
Yeah.
Yeah, then we'll have 3/3. It will be sick.
Banished from the podcast forever. Get out of here.
So, Jamie, you're the one that picked this series, but you had not seen this before, correct?
That is correct. I just, I don't know. I couldn't bring myself to get into this one with so many different cast members, but I apparently did a disservice to myself, so...
Yeah, I mean, I can understand why after watching The
last
Mummy
one.
Right.
Rise of the Scorpion King of the Hill, I could see why why you wouldn't want to do this one possibly, but it feels like the series kind of got a little bit more on track for this one. It wasn't quite as bad as the second one. I mean, we'll talk about whether it was good or bad at the end, but yeah, I'm right there with you. And did you watch any of them past this, or was it just 1 and 2 that you watched and then you just jumped ship?
I mean, I watched 1 and 2 and then the Scorpion King 1, but none of the other Scorpion Kings or this one. And if you watch the Scorpion King, you'll realize why I would not watch past that one.
Man, I did some diving into the whole Scorpion King side thing, and it's just a series of way, way, way lesser movies, like direct to video, direct to streaming. Like, oof. It looks so bad.
Yeah.
The Scorpion King and I.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a couple of little tidbits about this movie. It had a budget apparently of about $145 million and had a box office return of $405 million. And it did very well in international. It did pretty well in the United States, but it did even better in international markets. Of course, whenever you branch out into whenever you're even referencing China in a movie for longer than 10 seconds, you're probably going to get $1 million in sales in China just because there's so many fucking people on the other side of the globe that people over here don't quite realize how many people there are. But
also, it did impressively well when you hear what was out when it came out.
yeah, what else was it up against? I forget.
It went up against Dark Knight. The Dark Knight.
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah. Impressive.
So,
And it actually dethroned The Dark Knight for the
for one
first
day.
day.
Yeah, for one day.
For one day. But I was looking at that, I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. It outsold Dark Knight, but it was, I think, the 4th weekend for The Dark
Right.
Knight.
That means
So,
people
like-
were hungry. People were hungry for the Mummy after what 7 years? 7 year wait.
They were
between movies?
they were thirsty to drink that sarcophagus juice.
Yeah.
Give me a bite of that desiccated, rotten human flesh. That sounds delightful.
It was Brendan Fraser. It was all, they were like, Brendan's back. Let's watch him.
And there are some major changes, obviously. The most notably is the loss of Rachel Weisz. She is no longer in the series, and that is going to be something that we are going to talk about quite a bit as we go through this review, I'm sure. For the record, why she left has never been fully confirmed. The only official thing was that she had issues with the script. But according to the director came out and said in a few interviews very openly that the reason why she did not want to be in this movie is because shock and awe, they had her character as a 37-year-old woman or 38-year-old woman. I forget which one the age was listed. And she had a child that was as old as her child is. So like an adult child on screen. And she was just shocked that she would be playing a woman this old. I'll have you know that Rachel Weisz's actual age at this point was 37. She was shocked and appalled that they would have her play a character that was the exact same age that she was.
How dare you ask me to play my age?
Yeah, how dare you ask me to play a woman of my ethnicity and my age with my hair color? I want to play a ginger man from Scotland or something. Like, okay.
Who's 12 years old.
Yeah, like I understand wanting to expand your repertoire and increase your skills and challenge yourself, but come on, like this is your character is you pretty much, except for apparently a little bit of prima donna.
Yeah.
Yeah, Evie doesn't give prima donna at all.
Yeah, and I was a little disappointed to hear that because I think the movie is made lesser quite a bit because of the change in those characters and the way that the change in that character and the way that our characters deal with that change.
Right.
Some of it is hit and some of it is missed, but we'll get into that. So,
Sounds like it's time to talk about the good.
The good. They changed composers yet again. This time they got Edelman to do the music, and I forget his name. What is his first name? John, I think. Hold on, let me look it up.
The only one that comes up for me is the tight end of the...
Randy Edelman, and I might be mispronouncing his name, but it looks like the way you pronounce it. He's actually I don't know if we've talked about him before, but he's done a bunch of movies. He scored Twins, Ghostbusters 2, Kindergarten Cop, Drop Dead Fred, Beethoven, Distinguished Gentleman, Gettysburg. Yeah, The Mask. He's done a bunch of movies. One of my favorite soundtracks that he did was Dragonheart, the silly medieval fantasy movie with Sean Connery playing a dragon. And he also did Dragon, the Bruce Lee story, which that is a very weird soundtrack, but it is one of my favorite soundtracks of all time. If you're a soundtrack person and you haven't listened to the Dragon, Bruce Lee story soundtrack, do it. It's awesome. It's wonderful to like work out to and stuff. It's brilliant. Oh, and it's used in a million trailers. Once you've heard the Dragon sound or the Dragon Bruce Lee story soundtrack and you watch trailers, you're like, there it is again. There, you're Leo staring at the screen with the beer in his hand because you're like, there it is. And I will definitely count that as good. I loved the music in this movie. I thought it was well done. I didn't realize I was such a big fan of Edelman until I started looking at some of his lexicon, and it is good. I really like the music.
Well, it's crazy that Edelman there has worked with the friend of the podcast so often, too. Like,
I don't even... Do we even want to mention his name? We haven't gotten any legal letters or anything like that in a while. But yeah, there's a little brush up there.
Yeah.
Kindergarten Cop.
Yeah. Twins.
Twins, yeah.
Well, I guess this is one of those cases where the music didn't jump out at me, really, but can be considered a good thing for soundtracks, as we said.
Right.
You know, it didn't get in the way of anything, so I must have just been engrossed in the scenes as a whole with the music going. So
As Jamie has said, that's one of the ways that she really appreciates the soundtrack when it gets the fuck out of the way. So,
Yep, I agree.
And speaking of which, little side note, I mentioned this to y'all, but I want to say this to the listeners because I think it's hilarious that we got copyright stricken on our last video because of that 10-second clip from the Mummy. Oh no, that was from the first one, the Mummy, the first Mummy. Yeah. And I just thought it was so funny that we have clipped so many movies from Lord of the Rings to Blade Runner to fucking Star Wars, and nobody has sent us a DCMA request except for the Mummy. Somebody is a lawyer for the Mummy team, and they are watching.
Yeah,
they are paying attention.
It's Brendan Fraser himself.
Yeah, he's like, hey, buddies, you did not have permission to use that 10-second clip.
Yeah. Right off the out of the gate with this movie, you can tell that the production value is much better than the last two. I know it's been 7 years, and maybe I don't think movie technology increased that much in that amount of time, but it looks better. Sets are great from the jump. The framing, the color grading, all of it. It's probably the best looking one of these movies by far, I would say.
Yeah, they actually hired Chinese stenographers and watercolor artists to do the intro and outro graphics for the movie, and even little touches like that, like it shows and it tells. Like even when we watch the movie, usually when the credits are boring, we just skip to see if there are any post-scene credits and just talk about the movie as a trio. With this one, we actually sat and watched the outro graphics because they were nice, and those artists put a lot of time and effort into them, and they were pretty, and they were done with real watercolors, not with CGI or anything. So Jamie, give me a good.
I loved the opening again. I think that's something that this series really nails, is giving you the backstory to everything, giving you the emotional stakes immediately, making you fall in love with the movie right from the beginning and pulling you in.
It was cool to tie it in with which I didn't expect or know, but the terracotta army thing, the real life terracotta statues. I thought that was really neat. That caught me off guard.
And the building of the Great Wall, like it was all important.
Yeah, I love it when movies reference real life things so that if you're a child or if you're wanting to believe, you can kind of see that, this could really be happening, that kind of thing. Like there's a 10-year-old that watched this movie and thought, that's what the terracotta army is. We have to be sure it never gets sunlight on it or something. And that I find that brilliant. Mm-hmm. And also it seems like a running trend with fantasy novels or fantasy stories in general, where you start the story out by looking at the villain. Like we immediately put the audience in with the villain and how the villain became a villain. And then after that settles down, then we slowly slide into like coming back to the Shire kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Very similar to the Lord of the Rings. You start out with that big, look at Sauron, he's killing millions of people. Now sit down and enjoy a pipe for a minute while we calm down. And this movie does, all three of these movies kind of follow that same, maybe it's a standard in Hollywood. I don't know. Maybe just haven't been paying attention.
Now you'll watch it for it all the time. Mm-hmm. I got a really big kick out of, they were describing the witch and how she could teach you other magic beyond imagining, and it was just sex.
Of course. I mean, anytime you have a woman in a movie, like that has to be one of her superpowers is her tits or her sexual attraction or something. It can't be, her ability to cuck, to Wow. I guess Freud was right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's Michelle Yeoh though, so that's. I'm just going to cut in line and go that's one of my goods, that Michelle Yeoh is in this movie. And
always pleasing to see. Yeah.
Hey, that's okay, because I have one of my goods that Russell Wong is in this movie for the same reason.
Who's Russell Wong?
He's the guy that played the soldier that fell in love with her.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I can't see him in my face, but I know who you're talking about at least. So that's a good start.
Let's talk about the introduction of Brendan Fraser in this movie, his character, because I thought it was great. He's like,
I put it in my goods too.
He's learning a new hobby, his elder statesman sort of period.
Trying to be normal.
Yeah, trying to be a normal person, learning to fish and hooking himself in the neck, and ends up just shooting the fish.
That scene caused me trauma, and I will There's a reason why it's not in the good. It was a very pleasant scene, and I like the way story-wise it works, but I'll tell you about it when we get later in the show.
Did you do the same thing at some point?
I can neither confirm nor deny that someone was injured by a fishhook that I was in control of, or not in control of.
Yeah. Oof. That's rough stuff. Because, those things are, they'll get you.
Yeah, they will.
Uh-huh. They can do a lot of damage to a human body if you don't realize what you're doing. Anyways, so
what that builds to and what that's leading to is showing that basically Rick and what's her name?
Evie.
Rick and Evie are
what, his new wife? I forget what her name is, but his ex-wife is Evie. So
well, they're essentially like retired treasure hunter Tomb Raiders now, and they just can't, like, they're not getting the thrill in their lives, and that's like a part of it. Like
they're adrenaline junkies.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's fitting for the characters, and since we've established a time jump even longer than has actually been in the movies, because their kid is 21 now, I think is the age he said he's playing.
It's assuming he's out of college, so
No, he quit college.
Oh, right. Yeah, so he's in college age.
Yeah.
So he's between 20, 23, something like that. So yeah. Well, and he was 7 in the last movie,
Yes.
so
Yeah.
14 years is what we've jumped ahead. But whatever.
And to
age is malleable.
To the movie's credit, they wink at the fact that they have recast Evie with her introduction, where she's reading from the book, The Mummy Returns, and they ask, is that character blah blah blah, and she's like, oh, I can assure you, she's a completely different person, and practically actually winks at the camera.
Yeah, it was,
That's
very
it's in my
heavy-handed.
good column.
Yeah,
because like it felt like it was going to be in the bad column, because it felt like they were trying to hide her from the movie, and I'm like, you can't get through a 2-hour movie hiding one of your main characters, and then they completely break the fourth wall. She might as well have looked at the camera and said, I'm a different actor.
Right.
Yeah, and it actually landed pretty well. I thought it was witty, sarcastic, it was tongue in cheek, but it still was in universe. It was consistent. Give us another good, Jamie.
I loved a lot of the effects this time. So a lot of them are effects, but the headless horse, the burning horse with no head, I enjoyed that quite a bit. I enjoyed seeing Sir Davos.
Oh, yeah. I did not put him in my good column, but he was definitely a good sight. It took me a second to realize, because I'm like, I know that guy. Where do I know that guy from?
That was exactly what I was doing. I was like, wait, is that?
It's the Onion Knight.
Yep.
What about you, Keith? You got some other ones?
I like that her brother named his club Imhotep's. It kind of felt the whole China aspect of it harkened back a little bit to the beginning of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom for me. That kind of felt like the spirit of what they were going for. You know, you have a Asian nightclub scene,
right?
And that's where that character reasonably ends up. I think, you know, it wasn't a stretch to consider that the brother has opened up a club and named it Imhotep's.
With the money that he stole.
Is it a little weird that he named it Imhotep's, though, considering that was a big traumatic experience they went through? That would be like the Donner Party surviving and naming a restaurant Avalanche.
Not for his character. You know? His character is so like brash and out there and like.
And it was a well-known situation, so he's just capitalizing off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, and that's
imagine
very
a
on par for
9/11
him.
survivor.
Yeah.
Imagine a 9/11 survivor naming a restaurant The Crashers or something like that.
It'd be Building 7. That's the name of their club.
Right.
It won't collapse on its own.
Yeah,
so,
fuck.
Like, you're fine.
I'm stealing that. Whenever I do open up a nightclub, I'm gonna call it Building 7.
Yeah. Those that know will know.
Well, as long as it's been 21 and a half years.
Yeah.
I will jump on your comment about the CGI, that for the first time in the Mummy franchise, there were moments of the CGI that ended up in my good column.
Yep.
For example, the Yeti. I thought the Yeti was actually pretty well done. And that was impressive, considering it was a big creature that was making it had a lot of weight to it, so that's harder to pull off. You know, snow flying when it's landing and shit like that.
The Yeti itself was also trademark series cheese. Like, of course, I communicate with and can call Yetis to my made.
Right.
That's
Yes.
so dumb
Yes.
that I love it, and that's all in my good column.
I have my superpowers are immortality, incredible fighting skills, and I have a legion of Yetis that I can beckon. Okay, so this is just X-Men, but with archaeology, Indiana Jones rapping.
But I love that, like, they called that out too, because Jonathan says at one point, "She speaks Yeti." like that's just unbelievable. Everything else totally
As if
believable.
Yeti is like a language.
Yeah.
They have a syntax and grammar rules. No,
And-
you put the period after. Not before.
The Eye of Shangri-La, that thing looked cool when it opened.
Yeah, it did.
And it was all
Yes, it did.
sparkly. That was a good effect.
Well, and the way the snake slithered off and stuff.
yeah.
Yeah,
There's,
that was really
thought
good.
put into that. Yeah.
I enjoyed also with the Yetis when he kicked the guy and then the other Yeti put out his arms like field goal. That made me laugh. It makes no sense whatsoever,
No.
but it does
how would they
in
know?
America.
Yeah. How would they know what a field
Right.
goal is?
Yeah, I don't know if this deserves to be in the good, but I'm pretty sure I heard the Roblox oof sound effect somewhere in this, and I'm like, how does that work? Maybe is it my brain is cooked from the internet culture, or was it used in other ways? Because I know there's this long history. If you ever watched the it was H-Bomber guy or somebody did a long video about the history of the Roblox oof, and it's like a 2.5 hour video talking about who owns the rights to it, where it came from originally, and it's actually pretty interesting. So who knows? Maybe it was actually around for this.
So that's like another Wilhelm scream is the oof.
Kinda. Oh yeah.
And
Oh,
which
yeah.
also made its appearance.
Yeah, you're going to see it more in generations to come too. I think you're going to hear the Wilhelm scream along the Roblox oof and shit like that more often too.
I can't wait for the first movie that's nothing but like meme noises like that as the soundtrack, or not the soundtrack. but
Chicken jockey.
Yeah.
Oh no. Oh my god, my friend is a elementary school teacher, and I was like, what do the kids do nowadays? Do they dab? She goes, it's a lot of skibbity, it's a lot of chicken jockey. That's about it.
God.
And I'm like, oh no, that we are cooked as a society. Never mind. I'm not going to sit here and bitch about the kids nowadays
Please
because that feels a
don't,
little
because
too old man yelling at cloud.
exactly.
I got a chuckle out of Jonathan referring to the girl that what's their
Alex.
kid's name? Alex. Yeah,
Alex.
the girl that that Alex was falling for as a tomb in which many pharaohs have lain.
Dirty.
Oh, I didn't think about that. That didn't land at the time the way it landed for you, and I'm a little ashamed in myself or proud of myself. I don't know which one.
That's a good wording. That's good wordplay on that. It's because it comes to find out that's probably true considering how old she is, right? Because we learned that she's like hundreds of years, thousands of 2,000 years old. Yeah,
And when somebody's alive that long, they're going to have a lot of sex over that many years.
They're gonna
It
have
just-
partners. It's just
Or
you
not.
Well, I would hope
Being
For her
asexual is
sake.
valid too.
Well, sure.
I'm reminded of the Kevin Smith line where he goes, a lot of my earlier movies, I was a lot of jealousy wrapped up in that, because when I was a younger man, I was concerned about who fucked whom and who was fucking whom, and now as I get older, I just don't want to die.
Right.
One of my definite goods was, and this is kind of a combo, two goods into one. I really enjoyed the waifu elements. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed the addition. It feels like they got a different fight choreographer. And of course, when you add Jet Li, Michelle Yeoh, and
Right.
who's this guy that you mentioned?
Russell Wong.
Russell Wong. Yeah, you add a lot of these big name actual like kung fu movie actors, and they're physical actors and they're fighters and stuff like that. It worked. And the waifu elements, if you were to tell me early on that this movie was going to bring in some of that stuff into this movie, I might have been a little skeptical of it. But watching it happen, it fits this universe. It feels like, why didn't we not have this all along? I wish Mummy 1 and 2 had these level of fights and this level of
Yeah, 100%.
absurdity.
Yeah, yeah.
I enjoyed when the Emperor was coming back to life and they were riding through the streets with the carriage and stuff, and he literally rips off part of his face to throw at Alex to get Alex off the cart. That made me laugh out loud. Like what? Like just like what?
There was a lot of good stuff in that scene.
That was a really good scene. Again, another chase scene that they did really well.
Did they miss an opportunity to bring Me to Life by Evanescence into this? Was that too late for this, or
I think it would have been pretty old at that point.
it fits this movie a lot more than it fits Daredevil? I'll tell you that.
Yes.
during that scene when they're riding in one of their chariots, the line "Your ass is on fire," Brendan Fraser screaming that, like trying to put out Jonathan's fire that is literally on his ass. But it's just absurd, and it makes me smile.
What else, Keith? You got to have something else there, right?
I do. I really liked the the jury is out on whether the yak that was in the airplane was a cow with a wig on it.
Thank you. I'm glad somebody brought that up because that's what I was the same thing. Like, is that a yak?
But then they also
I never would have put that together. I didn't even think about. I was not thinking about the yak as much as y'all were. Apparently.
Because they said, I was like, why is a cow there and why does it have a wig on? And then they said the word yak, and I was like, oh, it's supposed to be a yak. And so I instantly wrote it in my good column as cow with wig equals yak. But then him sharing the barf bag with the yak and saying the yak yacked, it's so stupid that made me smile.
Right.
Another one of those things.
Yeah, this is a movie where that might have been one of the things that worked really well for this movie is they knew who they were and they leaned into it in an effective way. Another good for me is the subtitles that they finally added.
Oh, I have that written down. Yes,
scenes.
Embedded subtitles. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, movie creators, for putting so we didn't have to figure out a subtitle for what's going on.
Oh, I'm busy Googling if it was actually a cow. No, it is a yak. It was a true yak. That's what I had to know.
It was not a cow with a wig.
It was a true yak. So yaks look like cows with wigs.
Yeah, apparently.
I mean, it's accurate, right? I mean,
Right?
I don't know. I don't have extensive experience with cows or yaks, so...
One of my biggest, and I think probably the last, not my last, but one of my biggest goods is the Asian characters are actually played by Asian actors in this movie.
Yeah, for the most part, it felt like they really dipped into... I mean, it feels like they did a lot of filming in Asia, so maybe that helped with finding extras because you're going to find more Asian people in Asia.
But even the main stars, that's a first for this series.
Yes, and they got big name stars for like Chinese movies, and I mean, it could be argued nowadays that Michelle Yeoh and Jet Li are more stars in the West than the East, but at this time they were still they had feet in both markets, I feel. But I might be wrong. I don't know.
No, I think you're right.
Speaking on that, the Shanghai, I thought Shanghai looked really good. I don't know where they if they filmed this on location. Maybe I should have looked this up ahead of time. But hey, it's just a podcast. We don't have to be accurate.
Fuck's sake, man, you're amateur.
But Shanghai looked really cool. I thought it looked like a really busy town. It looked bright, and there was a lot of people. There was a lot of action moving around, even before the driving chase scene or whatever.
Right.
Just when they were walking around, it looked cool.
Now, Shangri-La also looked cool, but it gave me a jump scare that we were about to get a wall of green CG bullshit again, because it was kind of like the same reveal from the last one where he's looking out.
You were having a PTSD response too.
Yeah, because it's
like, oh no, the whole screen is just going to turn into salad in a moment.
it's very green. But Jonathan's line there is pretty great. He looks at it and he's like, oh, look at all this potential. And then he's just like, a casino.
Right?
Yep. He is the voice of every Western colonizer in the world.
Yep.
Yeah. We
How
could
can
tear
I
down
make
all
money
this
off
culture
of
and build a
this?
McDonald's.
How can I monetize this?
And thankfully, there wasn't a green grass lawnmower gone awry whirlwind at the end of all that. So, thank you, movie.
Lawnmower gone awry. I like
Yeah.
that. That's good. Speaking of Jonathan, I don't know if this deserves to be in the good column, but I wrote it there, so I'm running with it. I like the fact that it's denoted that Jonathan, he likes hairy women, and he's okay with that. I thought that was very accepting and very body positive for every different type of man and woman out there, Mm-hmm. But yeah, I never would have pegged him
Again, dirty.
as a man that liked hairy women. So. Hey, I didn't say anything that was wrong. That's a common turn of phrase.
Mm-hmm.
Just for reference, we are not recording this on an evening like we normally are when we're this off the rails. This is Sunday normal recording time, and we're still off the
Hey,
rails.
y'all are sick. I'm just sick. So,
when Rick is saying, I put down more mummies than anyone here, and they're like, you put down the same mummy twice.
No, they just say it was one mummy, and he goes twice. Twice. That was great. It was a good line. Speaking of which, Rick is in my good column. I put a question mark next to it because he feels a little different, but most of I think that's just the energy that he's getting off of his co-star.
Right.
Which, sadly, she will not be named in the good column. For me, so.
Neither.
Uncharted vibes, especially when the Yetis showed up. Just the whole, family spelunking and tomb raiding together. I might have said that in the last one, but it was actually a little more pronounced and present here. There was another good line where Davos, whatever his character name, when asked, "Should I quit drinking?" and Rick looks at him and just shakes his head, no. Like that's a bad idea for what we're dealing with. Yeah.
It's particularly while he's flying through the air chasing a dragon, a 3-headed dragon, when he asks that.
Right.
I picked the wrong day to stop doing crystal meth.
That's what it reminded me of. Yeah.
And speaking of Uncharted, this isn't even in my notes, but when you bring it up, I want the new Uncharted movies, somewhere between this and Indiana Jones. Not quite as absurd as this, not quite as political and understated as Indiana Jones. Somewhere in the middle, it feels like. I mean, either way, it feels like the Uncharted series movies could actually learn a lot about how to make their movie from looking at the Mummy series, good and bad.
Yes.
I really appreciated the fact that the books were the first two movies. I thought that was a nice way to reference your own movies and the actual titles of the first two movies. It's almost like advertising for your other movies within a movie, but done really gracefully and subtly. That I thought that was brilliant. I wish more movies did that.
It's also, if you want to, you can let it be like the first two movies that we watched with their bad CG were like the bad movie versions of these events that actually happened. Like the
books that she wrote.
Yeah, exactly.
We watched
Hollywood
the books
took her
that
book
she wrote.
and did what Hollywood does with her book.
Which is fun. That's a fun little headcanon.
Yeah.
It kind of saves the series as a whole for me, if I'm allowed to think of that. He says, shut up, Clayboy, to one of the terracotta soldiers after he blows its head off, which is just don't ever change, Brendan Fraser. That's wonderful.
Is that just a couple letters away from being a homophobic slur? Is that what that was?
No, I don't think it was intended to be that, but Clayboy.
A lot of things are, let's be honest.
I can't think of a common turn of phrase that would rhyme or be, reminiscent of Clayboy other than gay boy. So, who knows? Maybe. Who knows? I got a couple of other little small things that I don't know if they deserve to be in the good, but I thought it was funny that the director was like, all right, we're going to have this whole adventure going on in the snow, a lot of it, surrounded by icicles and huge mounds of the stuff, and we got to still find a way to get Brendan Fraser shirtless. I don't know how or where, but we've got to get him naked as soon as possible. And they did. So, yay,
I
good
found
job,
that funny
producers.
as well as I found it admirable. Yep, I found it admirable.
And my other little tiny note was that's in the positive column was the CGI sometimes with the big combat reminded me of a really good Total War game. To anyone that's played the Total War series,
I can see it. Yeah.
And I mean that in a positive way. The Total War games actually do these large-scale combats really, really well. So, yeah, felt reminiscent. Any other goods from either one of you?
You got any, Keith? Because I just found, because I had to watch the movie again because I was so not into it on Thursday because I was so sick. So I found that I have a couple more. So if you have more, go ahead.
I have two, but I'd like to end with my two because they're about to end. So I'll let you.
Well, so then I'm going to hold off on one of mine because I think it's one of yours. The dragon effect, I thought they did that really well, considering that we hadn't really seen dragons on screen much at that point. Not like now, it's kind of common. I thought that went really well and looked really realistic for that time. And also, when they're fighting at the end and you have the undead warriors that came out from under the wall and they're like nowhere near as well put together as the terracotta warriors because they've rotted. And one of the warriors swings his shovel up to get excited about going into battle and knocks off the head of the soldier next to it.
Oh,
and he collapses.
Yeah.
And he's trying to get, and then he runs and he goes to try to get the head and try to put it back on. I was laughing too hard.
Yep, I remember seeing that. No, get back on. You're fine. You're all right.
Because they were
Just put his head back on, it'll be fine.
Yeah, because they kept reconstituting, but he was like, oh, let me get that back.
Yeah, which that kind of, I don't know, it made me think, like, at first, I'm like, okay, so you have these two immortal armies, the Terracotta Army. I'm not sure how, but I'm figuring that they're immortal and they're invincible in some way. And then we realize, no, they're as vincible as clay pots.
Yeah.
All you gotta, if you can break a clay pot, you can destroy their entire fucking army. A well-placed bass note will destroy their entire fucking army. Yeah, and I just wanted to point out, too, that I knew this was the case, but I had to look it up. We had two different visual effects studios doing the visual effects for this movie. Okay. Rhythm and Hues Studios did the Yetis and the Dragons, both of which we have already complimented, while Digital Domain did the battle scenes and the Terracotta Warriors. And they also used the AI software Massive that was used for Lord of the Rings battle scenes. They use that for the undead battle scenes here, so there might be a reason why we're picking up on a common trend there.
Right.
And it feels like both sides did a well job, but there was a huge difference between the Yetis, Dragons, and the Terracotta. Like the first Terracotta Warrior that like exploded into mud and clay, that was not well done. That was very rough around the edges.
Yes.
So yeah, you can see maybe they should have given the Terracotta transformation to Rhythm and Hues Studios because they seemed like they were a little bit better at the fine details.
All right, Keith, so give us yours.
The line, I believe, delivered by Not Evie is, there's something incredibly romantic about vanquishing the undead. I wrote that down immediately because it's just it rolls off the tongue. That's a good line that I will try to inject into my life whenever I can.
Nothing gets your loins engorged rather than wading through a bunch of mortared flesh and rotted bodies. Like, yay!
Well,
that gets me going.
When you say it like that, Kelly, it's no good.
I can't wait till Keith can actually utilize that in his day-to-day life because he's fighting the undead.
Sarcophagus juice is an aphrodisiac to some people, I guess.
Do you have to open graves to find girls to fall in love with?
And then the very ending with Jonathan, who has the tear of Shangri-La, and he's like, I'm going to Peru where there are no mummies, and it freeze frames, and it's like shortly after this, mummies were discovered in Peru, and it's such a stupid and great way to end your movie, and it's like sequel bait for a movie that never happened, because I can just see Jonathan like stumbling into a crypt in Peru and accidentally drops the tear and it spills on the mummies, and now you got a mummy outbreak in Peru or whatever. But it made me smile the way it.
But it wasn't a cliffhanger.
No,
it just left it like and that might be the next story. Wink,
right.
wink, and I'm with you. It was a really good done.
I can very clearly picture Jonathan being like, and this right here is where I'm going to build my next club. And then he stumbles into something, rolls down into this crypt that's been undiscovered, drops the tear, and there we go.
Yep.
And then he's on the phone. Evie? Just like, come save me.
I can see him walking into the club, fists on his waist, like looking around, like this'll do quite nicely. And then the camera pans underground a few 100 feet, and you see a sarcophagus, and the eyes open, and the mummy just kind of smiles, and that's where it cuts. Yeah, absolutely.
The mummy mixed with poltergeist.
So I think that's all of our good, huh?
Yep, that means it's time to talk about the bad. First thing in my column is a recast, and that sucks. That kind of sucks.
Yeah.
I guess it was unavoidable, and you wanted to have a movie, so you have to, but it sucks.
Both Evie and Alex are in my bad column just because I don't know, maybe I just got attached to the other actors, mainly Evie, but like even the actor that played the new Evie, what's her name?
Maria Bello.
Look it up. Yeah, Maria Bello. She even came out and said, "No, this is a completely different Evie." And I'm like, then why are you naming her the same name? It's like to make it logically consistent in my mind, I had to kind of imagine that Rick got a divorce and this is his second wife. That's because it was not the same woman. She acted differently. She looked differently. She sounded different. She had different motives. She had different fears. It was a very different character to me. And I don't know why they bothered. Yes,
she's a completely different person. Didn't you hear her, you idiot? She told you this.
Exactly.
Right
then why are we calling her the same name? That's what didn't make much sense to me. Like,
I noted also that I hate Maria Bello as Evie. Like, it just did not compute for me. and the chemistry was so much a part of the other movies, and it's so missing here. And not just with Rick, with her and Jonathan, with her and Rick, across the board, like the chemistry just was not there.
And it's nothing against the actor.
No.
Maria is she did a great job acting. It's not like I was looking to go, man, this person doesn't deserve to be in a blockbuster film. She just deserved to be in a different blockbuster film. I'm sure she's a wonderful performer. She did a great job with what she had, but that was not the character. We've spent the last 4.5 hours or whatever investing time into one character, and now you're telling me this is the same person and they don't look, sound, act, or anything the same as the other character, and it sucked. And Alex, I'm sorry not to cut in line, but I just didn't like him. Was I alone? Was Alex a likable character in this movie to you all?
I think the character was. I just don't think he was played likably, if that makes sense.
To me personally, he didn't stand out as either positive or negative. He was just kind of there, which I guess in itself is a bit of a negative. But nothing. I wasn't offended or assaulted by his performance or anything.
No, it wasn't the performance. It was the character itself. Like, the guy that played him, we commented during the movie that he reminded us of other white male actors that kind of blended into the movie. I thought of Terminator Salvation, the main character in that. What did you think of, Keith?
The guy who played the young Han Solo.
Yeah, handsome white guys that do a great job performing, but you're just like the Temu version of Chris Hemsworth or something like that.
A basic white guy with a nice smile. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I'm sure he's a nice guy. He did a great job with the role, so this is nothing against the actor. I didn't like Alex as a person. He was he was kind of self-aggrandizing. He was braggadocio. He didn't, I don't know, I just didn't find him very likable. Like, the little bit of personality that came through, it reminded me of Alan Quatermain from League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
I can see.
They made him up as this, macho character, and he just came across as kind of like an asshole.
Yeah, well, look who his parents were, you know?
Yeah, unfortunately. What were you saying, Jamie? You cut out a little bit.
And he did, I said I can water.
Oh no.
Oh no. Jimmy has gone robot.
Yeah, here's R2D2 noises.
Well, wait. Keep talking, Jamie. Eventually it'll turn around.
And it's recording on your end, so it'll be fine.
We'll just be mocking you for no reason.
It's really hard to talk.
It's hard to talk.
All that came through clear is it's hard to talk, and then zip zop zoop zop.
I really vibe. I definitely see that. That makes sense.
Robot Bill Cosby over here.
I'm trying really hard to understand what you're saying, and I can't. I'm sorry, Jamie. Yeah. We love you. We're sorry. She's been banished to the shadow realm.
Yeah.
And but
it's still not better.
Generic, but sad little boy. But he did.
Oh no!
Murder a mummy himself.
She's still going too.
Let her go.
You told me to keep going.
Yep. Oh, Ed and Kelly, I'm so sorry.
Unfortunately.
Somebody else can go now.
All right, Keith, give me one of your bads.
The fact that not only was the Dragon Emperor immortal, he also had all the Avatar Airbender powers. That felt a little unnecessary. That he could bend fire and water and earth and lightning and
yeah, and they just say it matter-of-factly, by the way, he controls all 5 elements, which also earth and metal, both? Mm-hmm. Wait, aren't they the same fucking... Explain to me what the difference between earth and metal is.
One is dirt, and one is metal.
Mm-hmm. But they're the same thing. Where do you think it comes from?
No, dummy. Dirt versus metal, you idiot.
Every time I hear about the controlling all the elements, it's almost like you're controlling the different states of matter. You know, you got fire/plasma, you've got liquid, you got water, you got solid, you've got earth. You know, why did we separate earth and metal? I don't understand why that happens. Where do you get your metal from?
Magneto can separate earth and metal.
Yeah, but I mean, that is more of like a scientific explanation of it. When you're separating into these big, huge categories, Magneto would understand the difference between tin and bronze and, copper and all this shit. An airbender, I don't think they differentiate. So why do they differentiate between, like, where does the line draw? Like, how much iron constitutes as being a metal versus being a rock?
Well,
Yeah, it's like I would
know.
shape this rock right here, but it's got too much metal in it, so I just can't.
47%. That's not enough.
Right.
What they missed with that really is the ability of him to control the bullets.
Yeah.
That's where they missed the bullets and the guns. Like, if he can control metal, why is he not doing that? Because
why do bullets even bother him?
Right.
Full Matrix stops the bullets.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, he just bends the gun barrel back at the people like, in the cartoons do.
Yeah. And it still somehow works like it does in the cartoons.
Now that you're back, Jamie, give me one of your bads.
The fact that they basically made the first two movies into romance novels that Evie was writing, like that they were more romance than anything else, and that really bothered me because Evie would not have written romance novels.
No. Evie is not a romance person. Like, it's like romance happened to her and she fell in love. So I'm not saying she's devoid of romance, but she's a librarian. Like, coming from a librarian, I don't know a single librarian that their primary genre is romance novels.
Right.
Like, God bless those that read them. I am not gatekeeping books by any means. However, it seems a little reductionist, and it seems like, oh, she's a woman. Women like romance.
Right.
Women write romance novels. That's the only kind of books women read. And it's like, you motherfuckers, you established her as a librarian in the first fucking movie. What are you doing to her?
And a librarian who seeks out adventure. Like, she's right in there. She's fighting along with it. She's not sitting in the sidelines waiting for Rick to save her. That just really annoyed me. And also, amongst my annoyances, when they first enter the tomb and they're like, it's trapped. The first thing they encounter is a trap. So they know it's trapped. And then they just start walking around like everything else is going to be okay.
Yeah.
Let's split up and step on everything.
Yeah.
What are you doing? And then, like, of course, they're like congratulating Alex, like, you're really good at this, man. And it's like, no, he kind of sucks. He's kind of dumb.
Gets everybody killed.
Arrogant. And doesn't pay attention to what he's doing. And you find a cave, first thing you do, let's just charge in with our torches and touch everything.
Speaking of getting everybody killed, it rubbed me slightly the wrong way, and I guess this, in retrospect, we learned that guy was actually a double crosser. The older gentleman who was with Alex on the
professor.
Yeah. When the people die from the traps and Alex is freaking out and he's just like, they're dead, Alex, get over it.
Yeah. And then Alex just does.
Foreshadowing.
Yes, then he does. When that's the part was he's like, oh yeah, you're right. It's like your people you've been working with for who knows how long have just
them by name. You called all of them by name. Okay, they're just dead now.
The guy's like, they knew the risk is the line he gives, and that's not enough.
They knew the risk as if they weren't just taking this job so they wouldn't fucking survive. They wouldn't starve homeless on the streets. Maybe he has a sick wife at home or something like that.
Yeah.
He knew the risks. Okay, thanks, dude. What kind of severance program do you have for those people killed on the job?
I think the whole thing, unfortunately, drags a little bit in the first of the third. Where I found myself like looking at my watch and maybe yawning a little bit, looking at my phone.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate because the rest of the movie around that part is pretty good. Maybe it's like butting up against best in the series, honestly. And for it to drag so in the third, it's just like, I clocked it. It's noticeable.
To piggyback off that, one of my complaints was the car chase, and I feel like the car chase was a big enemy of pacing for me because that car chase took way too fucking long. That's it. If I had a similar idea that you did, that there were parts that I was checking my phone, I was not paying attention because it started with the car chase. That was the first scene that I was like, come on, I know. What are we doing here? It took way too long.
Right. It doesn't need to be this long. Yeah.
You know what it felt like to me is that and we even praised it, the bus chase and how great the bus chase was. And they were like, people really like when we do this, so let's just do it extra long.
Yeah, and it didn't need to be. This movie could have been an hour and a half and it would have been totally fine. I would have enjoyed myself at an hour and a half. You don't need to hit 2 hours just because the first two movies were resting around 2 hours.
I have one final bad note if anybody else wants to go before me.
I have one final one as well, so why don't you go, Cal?
All right, I'll go down a couple of mine. The Dragon Emperor's speech to his terracotta army made no fucking sense to me. They're all automatons. Why are you delivering a speech? Like, imagine an IT worker delivering a speech to the servers before they launch an online game or something. Like, that doesn't make any fucking sense. They're robots. There's nobody to inspire. So
I get that. I'm just now picturing an IT person like giving the best speeches from movies, like Braveheart speech and the Rohan speech to a server farm.
they may take our lives, but they'll never take our bandwidth. Yeah. There was a moment where where they had the subtitles going on, and I'm so happy about the subtitles, but one subtitle in particular made me laugh.
Yeah,
and it was when one of the Chinese warriors was killed or pulled or something like that, and it was "ah" is what he said, and they put in the subtitle "ah" exclamation point in brackets Chinese, so that we understood that "ah" was in Chinese. I'm like, thank you so much for making sure I understood that he screamed in Chinese, not in English. It reminded me of the cave scene in Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Yeah.
I have two more, one that I want to save near the end, so I'll let you all guys go after I make this point. But I did not appreciate the fact that they killed... It felt like the change in Rick and Evie off screen felt like Newt and Hicks all over again, from Aliens to Alien 3. I felt like two of our beloved characters just kind of died an off-screen death, and we didn't get to see it. So I was not crazy about that. All right, I'm down to my last one, so give me one of yours, Jamie.
The last one I have is the line that only the pure of heart would sacrifice themselves for the person they love. Blech. First of all, bleh. And second of all, nope. There are a lot of horrible people that will sacrifice themselves for the person they love, but they're still horrible
Hell, the
people.
first two movies were based off of that.
Yes.
So
exactly. That's kind of a weird thing to have everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Evie just happens to be pure of heart. She's the one you need right there, of course.
Yes, of course. But that would not for that necessarily for that reason. That like taking the crux of your first two movies and ignoring it for your third. So that was my last bad.
Do you have friends that like the things that you do, want to make your friends cooler? Well, then share our podcast with them. If you do not share us with your friends, then I will set myself on fire in your front lawn and cause
self-immolation.
Yeah, self-immolation. If you don't, that's just the way that I roll.
When we got the note to make this ad campaign a little bit stronger, I don't know if this is, but yeah, I mean, if it gets some listening, I'm down for it.
Research has shown that if you don't share with your friends, then you will be infinitely cooler than your friends, and then your friends will all have to stop hanging out with you, and you will be all alone in your house.
That sounds like you're incentivizing them to become cooler by not sharing. So let's.
And after you like and subscribe, and you download it and you share with your friends, you probably want to talk about it. Maybe one of the reasons why you listen to us is because maybe you agree with us. Maybe you disagree with us. Maybe you're like, man, that Kelly guy, he sure has a cool sounding voice, but he's got some shitty opinions. Well, feel free to tell me. And one of the ways you can tell us is like, we got a Blue Sky account, we got an Instagram account, we got a Facebook account, Discord server. We're having conversations with everybody every week. You can find us even on YouTube and leave comments there. I don't know if that's the best place to have a civilized conversation, but hey, let's try to be a first. Maybe we have a cordial, wholesome conversation on YouTube. I think that would be pretty cool.
Cordial, wholesome conversation on any social media would probably be a first.
You can maybe happen on Blue Sky.
Maybe. Yeah. Blue Sky is pretty cool.
The legend has it that there are places on the internet where people are just nice to each other and they just enjoy things that they like.
Review us. It doesn't take long to move your thumb around on your phone, because that's probably where you're streaming us from, right? Because it's 2025. Give us that review. 5 stars. It's easy and it costs you nothing. If you actually type some words into your review, we will read it. Say whatever you want to say about us. curse us.
Whoa! I don't know if that's. I don't know if I agree.
No.
Maybe.
This is
There's enough money attached to it, possibly.
This is the contract. You say whatever you want to say within reason in your review, and we'll read it.
Okay. As long as we can say within reason, we can legally bend that to mean whatever we want at the time. So I like that contract.
We might be fighting over reading some of those reviews if you're like agreeing with, say, Keith on Star Wars movies over Kelly, or telling Kelly how amazing Lady Hawk is and how everybody else has it wrong.
If you don't agree with me on Star Wars movies, we don't want your review.
Well, most of them I do, but we'll save it for the pod.
Speaking of money, all the ways that you can actually help us out with some money, you could go to Ko-Fi and rent us a movie or force us to watch a movie and review a movie that you want to make us watch.
Yeah. I really want someone to do it.
I can't wait for the first person to do that, to force us to watch something. I'm curious if it's going to be something serious or if it's going to be something like, haha, fuck you guys, you have to watch Reefer Madness or something.
That's what I hope for. I hope it's something that we absolutely hate and can really tear apart, so please give us that.
If y'all keep making me watch some of these movies, I might have to pay to make you watch something awful.
I guarantee you it's going to be somebody that has a movie that they really like, but they don't tell us that in the message, and then we review it and we just fucking shit all over it, and it turns out that...
They paid us money for like some kind of weird Dom experience where we
Finn Dom. We could just skip all this and call you names and you just forward us the money. That's fine.
Yeah.
They're gonna be like, this is the best movie ever, and we're gonna be like, this movie is awful, and we know you made us watch it because it's so awful, and they're gonna be crying in the corner.
But you can force us to read a message on the air. We can play a recorded message, again, within reason. If you record something and send it to us for the right amount of money, we will play it on the air. And also, do you have like a small business or a podcast of your own or something like that you'd like to advertise? Well, we can get your message to literal dozens of people.
There are dozens of us.
No joke.
Outstanding! Oh, stop booing. There's nothing wrong with it. There are dozens of us.
Dozens.
Research has shown that those podcasts that don't put ads in their own podcast are 47% less likely to encounter double negativities in 13% of... you know the deal. Thanks for listening.
There's a part that made me laugh out loud at the end where the general and his like female accomplice who were working for the Dragon Emperor, they're like everything's breaking and they're dying, and he's like on the water wheel, like getting churned into the water wheel, and she just like joins him silently, and they're both churned up in the water wheel. Yeah. I've laughed out loud.
She just climbs on in.
She climbs fully in knowing she's gonna die too, which just illustrates the point I just made.
Yeah, I literally laughed out loud.
So she was pure of heart.
Okay.
She could have opened the,
Yeah, but she sacrificed herself for no reason. She wasn't trying to save him. She just crawled into
She didn't look like she had a romantic look on her face. It wasn't a dramatic moment. She just kind of nonchalantly climbs into the death machine. Like, all right, well, I guess it's time for me to exit the script. See y'all later.
Right, cracked me up. Cracked me the fuck up. Yeah.
Not like she was reaching for him and her clothes got caught into it and sucked her in.
No,
she
climbed in willingly.
Yes.
She just jumped
like
into
lazily,
the meat grinder.
lazily, and no, she didn't jump. She like casually crawled into it. That's what. It's awesome. Everyone should watch this movie for that scene alone because it's so bizarre and inexplicable.
There are a lot of really good little things like that.
How did she die? Did she get stuck in there? No, she just kind of climbed in. Did she jump in? No, she climbed in slowly and carefully. She didn't want to hurt herself climbing into the death machine. Line
herself up completely so that every part of it would go through with ease.
Yes. I want to make sure every part of my body. I don't want my hand sticking out or anything like that. So
it might gum up the works.
It's just. Just nonsense.
My last bad, and this one I've kind of drawn a line between bad and ugly, and I've kind of mentioned it earlier, but I'm going to explain why it's in the bad column and possibly ugly, is the Rachel Weisz age thing. Because if it's not true, and that's why if it's not true, I'm putting this into the bad column, and I guess you could kind of exchange these, but if it's not true, I'm putting it into the bad column, because how dare a director go out there and malign a potential actor in this way? But from what I understand, the director was not exactly known for making a lot of these kind of claims, so I don't think that if the director did it on purpose and knowingly lied, then that's really bad, and it's just really unprofessional of him, and it shouldn't you shouldn't do shit like that. But chances are it'll probably go into the ugly, and I'll just explain my reason why, is because if Rachel Weisz actually did turn down this role because she didn't want to appear to be a 37-year-old woman when in fact she was 37 years old and a woman, then like, I get it that she's kind of a victim of the patriarchy in the movie industry then, because older quote unquote women won't get cast the same roles, and maybe that's why she was doing it. But it's also like she could have been a voice for positive change in this instance. Like, imagine you have a sexual icon and a beauty icon like Rachel Weisz, voted one of the most beautiful people in the world several times and stuff like that, and she is playing a woman that's nearing 40, and she's still fucking gorgeous, and she's still capable, and she's still witty and sarcastic, and she's not afraid of combat and stuff like that, and she sacrifices herself for her husband and all these positive qualities. Why are you turning that down and saying, but I don't want to be old on screen?
Right.
You're hurting other actors coming up in the industry. You're hurting other women that are turning 30 tomorrow that are actors in Hollywood by not just embracing that age. She could have been a power for good, it feels like, and instead she ended up jumping on the side of the bad and going, nope, women can't be old in movies. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, how about this then? I'm sorry to say this, but fuck you, Rachel Weisz. Fuck you for saying that women, if it's true, that it bothers me that she felt like a woman can't be 37 in a movie and still be, maybe I'm putting too much blame on her. Maybe it's more on the system, but the system didn't make her turn it down. She turned it down.
But you know what it sounds like to me?
What?
It's time to talk about the ugly.
I am down to talk about the ugly. I only have one note in the ugly that I haven't already brought up, and I'm going to wait. So yeah, go right ahead.
I'm going to start. Sorry to contradict you, Jamie, but I thought when I was like, oh, there you are, the Mummy franchise, and at least in regards to the horrible CG, was every extra form other than the clay form that the Emperor took, that includes the dragon once it started moving. Mm-hmm. It was like the dragon, the big beastly sort of half cat thing. I thought all that stuff looked pretty bad. And I was like, my beloved Mummy franchise, how I've missed you. Because those instances were not good to me. I thought I was surprised, and the dragon looked great when he first transformed, and then it started moving and the lighting was all wrong, and I was just like, oof.
See, and I knew some of them you were going to contradict me on, because you are a lot more knowledgeable in how it all works and what it looks like than I am. So I kind of expected that. But I do have some of the special effects, and I definitely agree with that whole beast thing where he was the beast at the end. That was awful.
Yes. Ugh.
Yeah, there are moments where the CGI was much better in this movie. The far off scenes, the battle scenes, those were much better. The Yeti was good. The first couple scenes of the dragon were good. There were some scenes that were kind of, I don't know if I would fit them more into bad than ugly. But, I mean, it felt like, would you agree, Keith, that this was an improvement overall versus the other two?
Oh, yes, by far.
Just with some weak moments still.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, Jamie, give me one of your uglies.
I only have two other ones besides some of those special effects. And one of the big ones, again, so I praise them for using actors from the right continent this time. But the thing that really stuck out to me...
The bar is on the floor, my friends.
Right.
The actors from the right continent.
Yes. The thing that gets me in this one is that at the end of the movie, we have the bad guy speaking to the soldiers, and he speaks Chinese to them, right? He's bad. Mm-hmm. He's speaking Chinese. We flip over to the Michelle Yeoh character, and she is speaking English to her soldiers. which is bad enough because it's kind of like the bad guy speaks this foreign language, the good person speaks English. But then her soldiers come out onto the field and they don't understand English.
Yep, there's a little bit of
that's fun.
language inconsistency there. And obviously, like Michelle Yeoh and her daughter being able to speak fluent English to the people that are coming into, like, where did they learn? Did they get good Wi-Fi signal in their little Shangri-La cave? Like, do they get a lot of books
Water
down
in
there?
Shangri-La makes you omni.
Oh, it's the elven
Parcel.
rope again. I
Yeah.
understand. I
Yeah.
understand. It's
The floating subtitles were off screen
Yeah.
in that
Gotcha.
scene. That's how the soldiers knew what she was saying.
I get you. It's magic. It's magic.
It was the fact that they made a point of his whole speeches in Chinese, and they had no problem doing that and putting the subtitles up. And when we switched to her, we changed that. That just felt icky to me.
And it's just now occurring to me, and I feel almost remiss for even saying this now, but like, we all know that Chinese isn't a language, right?
Right.
Like,
Yeah. Yes.
That's very reductionist. There are like 8 or 9 different primary languages. Like, they're probably speaking in Mandarin is what's probably going on. And just for the record, we understand that Chinese isn't just an all-encompassing language for everybody from Asia or something. So
Except when you shout,
yeah, that is in
apparently.
Chinese. That's
Yes.
Chinese,
specific to the
yeah.
continent. Anywhere else in the globe, they just call it sparkling panic. Keith, give me one of your uglies.
My last ugly, it's a little thing that I'm not gonna drag them over the coals too hard, but it pinged my ick meter, was Brendan Fraser referring to the two Chinese generals as yin and yang felt vaguely racist, but
This movie
whatever.
feels like it was tiptoeing right on the edge of Orientalism. You know, it's
yes.
And having one of your characters, a character known for making ignorant statements before, be the one to almost step over the line. Okay, all right. Like, my ick meter was pinging, like you said, but I don't know if it didn't quite land on the. But who am I? I'm not Chinese,
the alarm
so.
didn't go off. Yeah. For me, the alarm didn't go off.
Yeah.
But it,
Yeah,
that's how I describe that sort of thing.
Jamie, what's your last ugly?
And again, it's an effect, but when the professor's head gets chopped off, like, that was the worst decapitation I have seen in film in a really long
That was
time.
really stupid.
All right, Cal.
All right, I have one ugly, and this is, unfortunately, I'm going to talk about the fish hook. This has nothing against the movie, so I couldn't figure out where to put this other than an ugly, because this is not a happy story. When I was a young lad, I was probably in between the ages of 8 and 10, something like that. We had, I think it was the baseball team I was on. We went on a fishing trip together, and we were all going on the lakes of probably Lake St. Clair or something. I don't know, somewhere in Michigan. And we were on the shore, and we were just throwing hooks into the water and drawing them back in and throwing the hook into the water kind of thing. Just the kind of shit that you do with kids. First time fishing. We don't know what the fuck we're doing. Every kid had their dad with them. My dad was there too, or a parent, I should say, but a lot of dads were there. My dad was with me, but he was helping another kid because the kid was having a hard time getting a worm on a hook or something like that. And I was practicing throwing the hook into the water. So I would just hold it behind me and then fling it over my head and see how far I could get it. And then it became because it's a baseball team, so we're trying to throw as far as we can. Always. We're always trying to compete to see who can throw the ball furthest. So I'm trying to see how far I can get this hook, because I'm trying to get a head start on all my comrades I've practiced so I can go further than everybody kind of thing. Farther than everybody. And at one point, I take my hook and I whip it back as far as I can, and I go to tug forward and it's not moving. And I'm like, what the fuck? So I tug again, and it's not moving. At this point, I grab my fish rod with both hands, and I yank as hard as I can. And when I do this, I hear a scream echoing behind me, and I hear everybody start yelling and running in that direction. And I look behind me, and I see what I had done was I had thrown my hook behind me. It had went over the head of another little boy, and it started going up his back. And it dug into his back and his lower spine, and as I was pulling it up his back. Oh my god! And by the time I stopped, it was lodged about 2 inches underneath his hairline. And so he had, it was 2 feet of scar, and he had to immediately rush to the hospital, had to get tetanus shots. My dad ran to me and said, "What the fuck are you doing?" and that kind of shit, And I'm looking around like, what is everybody mad about? I didn't put 2 and 2 together that was me, that I was and that has stuck with me to this day, pun intended.
Ugh, that's rough.
Yeah, so when I saw that hook scene in the beginning of the movie, it reminded me of that, and I could not. I had to like kind of look away for a minute because
yours is 10,000 times worse.
Yeah, that's why it's not the movie's fault. This is not. I had to put it in ugly because there's no way I can consider that anything other than ugly. But yeah, there's the fishhook story. That's why the beginning of the movie didn't land quite as well for me as it did for the rest of you.
I know it's not. That's not your fault, Kelly. But I'm also having a hard time not judging you because of the terrible, terrible thing. That's like a horror story for me. Like, because those fuckers are. I've had them in my hands. I've had them, in my like one time on my shoulder.
I'm just glad that it landed somewhere like the back and not in like a cheek or an ear. Because
and to give you an idea what the hook itself looked like, it was one of those hooks that had two hooks, like one on each side. And so when it dug up, there was like a thin strip of skin about a centimeter long that was just kind of peeling up with it. Yeah.
It's not your fault, Kelly, but also you monster.
Yeah, I know. I'm like,
I'm just gonna start calling
this
him
kid through
Reese Bolton from now on.
Yeah,
the hook man.
No, and it's like I didn't mean it. I felt horrible about it. That kid and I still became friends, and we still hung out afterwards. And he forgave me. I apologized a million times, so it's nothing like that. But I put this poor child through probably one of the most traumatic experiences of his life. He tells this story to this day. Every time he takes his clothes off, probably has to explain why he's got this jagged scar going up his spine. Yeah.
Sounds like your phone's ringing, Kel.
Do we just want to put it to voicemail, or do we want to answer?
That's up to you.
That's up to you.
Yeah, it's your phone.
Oh, okay.
You're the one that gets screamed at.
Hello?
Hello, I'd like to talk to the people in charge of the podcast again.
Oh.
I find that what you're doing is completely incredible. You're not even mentioning one of the biggest stars of the generation that was incredibly passed over for this movie.
I did mention it, sort of, kind of.
It's Al? Is this Al?
This is Al. I'm the cobbler from Wisconsin. I'm here to talk to you about the movies. My friend was in the Conan movies.
Cobbler.
The only two Conan movies, because the other one was a fucking travesty. It should be thrown in the river. But these Scorpion movies with Dwayne the Johnson Rockman is incredible that he was never even considered to be given to Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's one of the most incredible, iconic action stars of the 80s, 90s, and beyond. When you listen to these radio stations that talk about the 80s, the 90s, and now, that's me. I am now. I mean, it's him.
Al, I have to agree with you because, as you know, when we talked about how the Dwayne the Johnson Rock prepared for like literal hours for his role, I feel like if that had been given to your friend Arnold, that he probably would have put a little bit more devotion into the role and maybe allowed them to scan him. I'm sure Arnold was such a star. There had to be at least a library of digital scans they could have gone back to if they couldn't get him scanned.
When I heard about this he prepared for several hours, and I'm like, hours? What the fuck are you doing preparing for hours? It should be weeks or months or days. What are you doing? You're not a professional. You're just a wrestler. You're used to doing fake shit in a fucking ring and not actually doing it in front of camera. You stupid son of a bitch. You give up the role to someone that knows what they're doing. Someone that will prepare for more than hours. I'm sorry, I get very heated. It's such lack of professionalism. And what are we talking about?
But wait a second. Don't you think that your friend would be a little old for this at this point? I mean, we were well on to thinking about being a governor by this point, weren't we?
Technically, if I can...
Listen, you stupid son of... I'm not going to put up with this kind of slander. People are doing action movies into the 70s and 80s, and now...
Yeah.
Like, Jamie, please stop doing this. My lawyers will be in contact with you if you continue to slander the incredible name of Arnold Harold Schwarzenegger.
I think we
I'm
lost
just saying.
him. I think he hung up.
I think he did too, but I'm just saying.
I told you we shouldn't have answered the phone. I told you.
We saw what happens when old people try to play as action stars.
Jamie,
Again-
we might want to not use that O word.
He hasn't hung up. He heard every word you just said.
Well,
I'm not. We'll check voicemail later and see if he has anything to say. I think we're going to leave this alone. This whole calling him old. I mean, I get it, but we're going to get labeled as ableist. We're going to get labeled as ageist. I mean, we got to.
I'm just saying, like we saw it. Alex Quartermain is a great example of what happens when action stars are trying to be action stars past their prime.
Also, to Al's credit, at least as far as the Scorpion King, the Mummy 2 is concerned, that was only 2001, and they probably could have given it to Arnold, and it would have been fine. So,
but he's not as good looking as The Rock.
I mean, well, look at it this way. They did Red Sonja. He was only supposed to do a week of filming, and then he ended up doing fucking 3 months and being the co-star of the movie. So we know that he would at least be dedicated to it. Whether or not Arnold would be capable. I mean, I guess you don't need to be very. You don't have to be very young to be CGI. I don't think.
Also, Jamie, you said The Rock is better looking, but The Rock is barely in that movie. His CG is not better looking than Arnold.
Hank Hill is not better. Hank Hill is not better looking than.
You're right. The CG is not better looking, but The Rock was shirtless for the first 5 minutes of the film, and that was better than it would have been with Arnold. Just saying.
I mean, you can put Mr. Potato Head on any CGI, and he's going to look the same. So our questions: what would be the popcorn bucket? Of course, this means the popcorn bucket that would be the marketing material that try to get people to go to see it in the theater. You get a fancy bucket, right? What would be the marketing bucket for the
Eye of Shangri-La, but a big version.
Oh, that's neat.
Oh, I was thinking a terracotta head.
That too.
But I think the Eye of Shangri-La would have a little bit more. The kids would enjoy it more. It's a little bit brighter. Terracotta isn't exactly popular with the kids nowadays.
It could
Shiny.
be the horse cart buggy thing. Like the back's filled with popcorn, or possibly that golden dome in
or. You know what would be really affordable, would it be really nice to see, is just have it a normal 4-sided cube that you put popcorn in, and have a face of the all the new Chinese and Asian actors on each one. Like have Michelle Yeoh on one side, Jet Li on one side. I would collect that. It's not as funny, but I think that would be kind of cool. I would buy that for that.
Right.
That's your Jet Li popcorn box.
Our second question is: if you replace this entire movie with the cast of the Muppets, but kept one human actor, who would the human actor be in this movie?
I don't know about this one.
I'm going Michelle Yeoh.
Yes, I am down for that. Just the idea of you could put any script in front of Michelle Yeoh with the cast of the Muppets, I am signing on for that immediately.
Yeah,
that's a day one. See it in the theater.
Yeah, she's got the right gravitas. Like she is very serious and weighty as an actress. That you have to have that against the absolute farcical Muppets.
I just really want to see the Muppets doing wire fu, because they kind of already do a little bit.
Yeah. Miss Piggy would make a great daughter.
Oh my God,
as the daughter.
Miss Piggy. Yes, Miss Piggy as Michelle Yeoh's daughter. That is. I don't know if we even have to explore more. Obviously, Brendan Fraser would be funny, but we already talked about that in the first two. Brendan Fraser with the Muppets would also be incredibly delightful.
In this one, I think Jonathan could work as the human and everyone else's Muppets.
Yep.
Yes. Again, seeing a human trip and fall and fail constantly around the Muppets, but the Muppets always succeed. Right. That would be hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so our final question is, who is your MVP? It could be something abstract like the set design or the endings like we have done before. The fact the title credits ended, that was my MVP. Or it could be an actor or a character. Who is your MVP? Let's go Jamie first.
I am probably honestly going to go with Michelle Yeoh in this. I think she was amazing and struck the exact right note that character needed for this movie. So she's mine.
Yeah, that's gonna be hard not to double up on yours.
Sorry,
what do you say, Keith?
It's the Yetis. It's dumb fun.
Yep.
I didn't have it on my bingo card for this movie when she goes like, oh no, or whatever, and calls the fucking Yetis. I'm like, okay, here we go. This is good stuff.
Yep.
It's like classic monster movie bullshit. So
and they were good, well done.
Yes,
so.
And they didn't. The Yetis didn't really disappoint. So I'm very. They are my MVP. They were what brought my attention back after a little lull and drag. So, what about you, Kelly?
I agree. Everybody wants one of those Yetis to be their friend companion in the real world, you know. But my MVP, like when you say Michelle Yeoh, like I freaking love that woman and a lot of the stuff that she's in, from Everything Everywhere All at Once to Star Trek to the old Wire Fu movies and stuff. Love all of that. So it's hard for me not to change my opinion, but I'm going to come back to the Wire Fu and those fight mechanics. Whoever brought that element into this franchise, that could have and should have really resurrected this franchise. This should have made people come back and want to see a Mummy for India or a Mummy for South America
Peru,
or wherever we go in the world.
Peru, yeah.
Peru. Yep, that would be the obvious choice. So yeah, the Wire Fu. I think the fight mechanics were so much better at this that I tip my hat to whoever was involved in all that. So now that we've answered our 3 questions and we've discussed the good, the bad, and the ugly, the only question remains is, did you like The Mummy, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor, and would you give it a thumbs up?
You really want to do this? Here. Now? Yes. Okay. Okay. Let's do it!
Yes, actually. This gets a full-throated thumbs up from me.
Well,
because
that certainly calls for a dirty.
Thank you, Kelly, because I was trying to hold it in.
Full-throated thumbs up, and I'm like freezing. I was taking a drink of coffee and I couldn't. I'm gonna spit shit all over my keyboard right now.
But yeah, we're back, baby. Mummies are back with this movie. It was the production value is the best out of all of it. It still had some humor and made me laugh. The CG is better, finally, thank God. I don't think that it's better than the first one because it doesn't have the same charm that the first one had. If the first movie had its level of charm with the production value of this film, it would be in one of my favorite movies, possibly.
Yep.
But it's still, this one's very good. It washes the bad taste of The Mummy 2 out of my mouth. Thumbs up from me. What about you, Kelly?
Yeah, definitely I would give it a thumbs up. It's not quite as good as the first one, and the main difference is not having Rachel Weisz in the role. Or if we would have just started the whole trilogy with this character instead, maybe they would have had better chemistry as it went on or something. I don't know. But I'm right there with you that if you combined the cast of the first movie with the effects and the attention to detail of this movie, you have a top quality S-tier action adventure on par or maybe even better than some of the lesser Indiana Jones movies. So like this movie with the cast of the first movie would have competed with in Indiana Jones. If you put them up against it, it would have different successes. So what about you, Jamie?
Yeah, I enjoyed watching this. I had a good time, even though I was super, super sick. I am going to give it a thumbs up as well, but I agree wholeheartedly that the main thing that drags it down is the lack of Evie. It's just not the same without her. It changes the chemistry of basically everybody on screen, and it is lacking, and it's notably lacking. So, but thumbs up still.
Perfect.
Good movie. Fun to watch.
Yeah, I don't like Rick's new wife as much as I like his first wife. But hey, whatever.
First wife? Yeah, exactly.
So, next up, have we decided, are we watching The Mummy 4 or are we moving on?
Well, there is no
Mummy 4. And I don't think we want to get into the Scorpion King because there's 5 of those.
Yeah. Save my mind, please.
And the only one was ever released in theaters. So I don't think we want to start down that path.
Yeah. Okay, so this is going to be the end of our Mummy journey. Oh, well, I will say overall, I really enjoyed this trilogy of movies. The second movie, even though it got a thumbs down.
I've never seen any of these.
Yeah, even the second one was a little meh, so I don't know if I'd go back and watch it again. But hell, the discussion with y'all afterwards made the whole thing fucking worth it. The Scorpion King of the Hill, I am so happy with that connection. That was great. So, and this movie and the first one were just genuinely fun movies. Especially if I were to see these movies when I was like 11, 12, 13 or something like that, I would have fallen in love with this franchise.
Yeah, so I get why people, there's a lot, there is a fan base, and I understand now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So our next movie is going to be Alien Resurrection. Is that the next one in the Alien franchise where I finally get to see Winona Ryder again? It's been too
But
long.
that's about the only plus to the movie, from what I've heard from Keith's mouth.
I'm just trying to brace expectations. I like the series. I find things to like in every one of the movies, even part 3. There's things that I like about it. So your mileage may vary, but we're at least we're getting some of the fun back. At least it's not It's not going to be a fucking miserable Brown experience. So there is that.
Oh my God, they took the Aliens universe to Mexico. Why is everything brown? They filmed it in Mexico. What are you going to do?
Everything's brown except for whatever reason, the giant glowing glob around
of green slime or alien.
Oh, God.
You know how they do those, what do you call those, like color graphs of what a movie's primary colors are in different scenes? The Alien 3 is just a lot of orange and brown and then one blob of like puke green or pea green. Yeah. All right, so those were our thoughts, not yours. We enjoyed the Mummy franchise overall. We had mixed reviews to 2, but we all gave it a good rating on the first one, all gave it a good rating on the third one. So overall, that was a very positive series. Thank you for recommending the Mummy to us, Jamie. That was
You're welcome. You're welcome.
I
make no promises about future picks.
Well, the next big pick is going to be mine, and I haven't decided yet, but we'll talk about that next week when we review Alien Resurrection, starring Winona Ryder.
Oh, your favorite.
But for now, this is Screen Share and Chill, and I'm Kelly.
I'm Keith.
I'm Jamie.
See you later.
Bye.
Don't drink the sarcophagus juice.
Don't eat them.
Well, no one's gonna top that.
I'm going to call the police. You go ahead, call them. Call anybody you want. They can't do anything to me. Not anymore. And nor can any of you. You go ahead, call them. Call anybody you want. They can't do anything.
I'm still recording, so maybe I could get something funny in there, but I won't.